Welcome, everyone. Good to see you. Good to be with you on this Sunday at the end of March 2023, amidst our lives, amidst all that is happening in the world. I deeply appreciate you taking the time for practice. And so as folks are joining, you might just touch into that intention, that spark in your own heart that decided that coming here and chanting, sitting in meditation, joining in hearing the dharma is important. So as folks are joining, touching into that spark, that impulse that is stronger than the busyness, than the turbulence, than all of the other pulls. That is possibly an interest, a dedication to waking up. Thank you, Mia. And so as folks are joining, let's begin with some chanting. Mia has put the chanting booklet into the chat, but I will also share my screen because I know for some people that's helpful. And we'll begin at the top of page 3 with Namo Tassa. We'll zoom in here. Top of page 3 in the Sri Lankan melody. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. And then on page 7, I believe it is. Yeah, on page 7, the second chant, the reflections on universal well-being. So this is a reflection both on wishing well. It's a metta chant, sending out our kindness, our sense of wishing well-being for ourselves and for other beings. May we abide in well-being. May we be free from affliction, from hostility, from ill will. May we be free from anxiety and maintain well-being, and offering that for self and then for others. But then also the second part of the chant is a recognition of karma. And so for me, and what I'd like to investigate today is this balance or interpenetration of metta and upekkha, so kindness and equanimity. And that equanimity includes a deep understanding of the lawful unfolding of what happens. So the karmic nature of what happens, that our actions bear fruit, and the actions of others bear fruit for them. And when we recognize this, we can have a sense of being connected, caring, understanding, but also realizing that we can't control everything. So let's chant page 7, Reflections on Universal Well-Being. May I abide in well-being, in freedom from affliction, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may I maintain well-being in myself. May everyone abide in well-being, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may they maintain well-being in themselves. May all beings be released from all suffering, and may they not be parted from the good fortune they have attained. When they act upon intention, all beings are the owners of their action and inherit its results. Their future is born from such action, companion to such action, and its results will be their home. All actions with intention, be they skillful or harmful, of such acts they will be the heirs. And then on the next page, the 4 boundless qualities on page 8. And now let us make the 4 boundless qualities shine forth. I will abide, pervading 1/4, with a heart imbued with loving kindness. Likewise the 2nd, likewise the 3rd, likewise the 4th. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself. I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading 1/4, with a heart imbued with compassion. Likewise the 2nd, likewise the 3rd, likewise the 4th. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself. I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with compassion, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading 1/4, with a heart imbued with gladness. Likewise the 2nd, likewise the 3rd, likewise the 4th. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself. I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with gladness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a heart imbued with equanimity. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself. I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a heart imbued with equanimity, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. So the Buddha described a mind and heart that has been dwelling, abiding in, realigning with metta, loving kindness, non-contention, compassion, joy or sympathetic joy, gladness, and equanimity as being uplifted, as being abundant, boundless, exalted. So a sense of being uplifted, of being carried through the challenge and the difficulty and able to meet what's arising, as being immeasurable, as being without hostility, without ill will. So these four, what are sometimes called the four faces of love, named for the god Brahma, who had four faces, or maybe probably still does, have four faces, each of these different qualities of pure love that we can align with, abide in, and cultivate in our practice to support us in working with inner difficulty, but also to help us to navigate the relational field and all that we are living through at this time. So I'll stop my share and welcome if you've just joined us. Let's move into a period of meditation. So finding a comfortable seat or lying down posture, maybe walking if there's a lot of energy. If it's too much to sit with, then you might walk. You might also want to look outside if your experience is overwhelming. It's always okay to both allow our attention to be outward as well as inward, which can help to balance what we're with. So finding a way that you can receive the invitation of the moment, the encouragement of the Buddha and the Bodhisattvas, all of the practitioners and teachers throughout time, that you can be here and you can do this. And as we begin our meditation, I want to invite you to recall, as the Buddha did in a turning point in his process of awakening. He had a memory from childhood. So allowing yourself to recall any time in your life, could be right now, when you've experienced metta. Maybe just a gesture from a stranger, someone that held the door open, or a dear friend who called, sent you a text knowing that you needed some support. or a place in nature where you could tap into the vastness of your interbeing and be held within that web. Whatever it is, the merciful glance of a sage or a saint, just allowing that memory to come to the forefront of your awareness. And notice what happens in the body. If there's just a slight softening or relaxing, maybe the breath changes in some way. If the memory brings up any grief or challenge, you might offer metta to that energy itself, allowing, even for a moment, your heart and mind and body to abide in well-being, in the field of metta. We don't have to create it. We can enter it, like entering a stream. This is the true nature of our own heart. And as you take in this memory, this field of metta, letting that be a deeper invitation into embodied presence, offering your own kindness, gentleness, non-fighting, non-contention to your body. This body that might be holding so much in this time. May this body be well. You might sense into the rhythm of your breathing, deepening the breath if it's helpful, allowing the breath to nourish the tissues, the cellular matrix of your form, of your body. You might also sense that the breath breathes you. You can deepen, you can nourish, you can also rest back into the rhythm, this ancient, eternal rhythm of all beings being breathed. Being aware of what's moving through the heart, through the mind, and touching it with gentleness, with softness, with just a reminder. Can come back, can allow the breath to be an anchor, or the sensations of sitting or sound. But this gentle guiding back to here, now. How is it now? And then receiving with awareness. Awareness is present. Allowing your experience to be received in this knowing capacity of awareness. Whatever we're aware of, the awareness can receive it, can hold it. If we're upset, the awareness that knows being upset is not necessarily afflicted. Noticing the gentle, kindly nature of awareness itself, resting back, realigning, being here in the field of metta. And as you return again and again to kind presence, to an attitude of non-fighting, resting, cultivating the metta of your own heart or borrowing that of another. You might also notice if there's a little bit more equanimity, a little bit more ability to allow what's arising to pass, to move through without adding to the momentum, without proliferation. Maybe just a little more sense of not adding to the suffering, not adding to the wanting, not adding to the not wanting, but allowing the stability of the body, sitting or standing, walking, the rhythm of the breath, to stabilize, to allow for a little bit more spaciousness, seeing into, well, this is how it is. Thoughts and sensations, moods and emotions arising and passing according to dharma. Allowing yourself to rest in equanimity, infused with metta. Taking time to stretch or move as we shift from the formal meditation into short Dhamma talk. And this is a practice of listening. Beautiful passage from the book Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. And she writes, I come here to listen. Beautiful passage, I come here to listen. And so meditation is a listening practice. The practice of the Brahma Viharas is a listening practice, where we listen into how it is, what's arising. And then we meet the moment with skill, applying metta, applying compassion, applying equanimity, applying wisdom from our own lives and from our practice. And so, in the same way, the Dhamma talk is also a practice of listening. And so you might just notice how you're listening. Is it listening to get some information or with curiosity? Is it okay to listen with the body, to stay connected to the body, to sensation, to breathing, even as the sounds of my voice are arising and passing within the field of awareness? So I come here to listen. So as I said, today I wanted to just touch on and highlight this inner penetration of metta and equanimity as two supports, two of four. The other two are also extremely integral to our practice, but two supports for reconnecting and realigning with the true nature, with our true nature, which is abundant, which is boundless, which is unconditional love and kindness. It's the mind that meets suffering, that meets the challenges of the world with the realization of the three marks of conditioned existence. So I love the teaching of Ruth King, her description of the three marks. This is the lawful nature of reality, that it's not perfect, right? These are her words. It's not perfect. There is suffering. There is difficulty. There is pain in the body, or there will be at some point. There will be loss. This is the nature of reality. And as the heart touches that with kindness, with a boundless, a generous sense of being with, there's often more capacity to be with that truth, to be with the imperfection, our own imperfection. And when we meet that truth, that imperfection with equanimity, then there's also a little bit more ability to allow that truth to be as it is, to not fight with it, which is another meaning of metta. So the first mark is it's not perfect. The second is not permanent. So things are changing. Sometimes that's really great. Other times it's really painful. And the third mark is it's not personal. It's not about who we are. It's not about this fixed nature of self, that the self is an evolution, is a process, is ever changing. And we can see into how the mind is often trying to solidify or fixate a sense of self or a feeling of safety, feeling of belonging. And again, when we see that, we can offer kindness, compassion. That's difficult. It's difficult to try to uphold a sense of self within this changing reality, within the truth that we're all interrelated. And so as we connect, as we cultivate these qualities, this is a training. The Buddha called it a training. He called it the highest devotion, was the willingness to train the heart in kindness, in compassion, in joy, in equanimity. That's the highest devotion. And that these bring, as we cultivate metta, as we cultivate upekkha, equanimity, we bring the heart into manifestation in the world. So we bring our heart into the relational field. And that these also provide protection. I feel like metta especially is protective. There's chants. We chant the metta chants as a way of actually protecting from the ways that we get caught up in fear and in not knowing and in ill will. So that freedom from ill will, freedom from anxiety, it's a protection. It's also a protection as we start to let that fixed sense of self begin to dissolve. And we start to see, oh, there's that edge. The person I was last week, I'm not today. Again, that might be great. The anxiety I had last week, I don't have today. Maybe a different one, but sometimes hard. The person maybe who was more able-bodied 10 years ago is less so today. So we meet that reality with kindness. That has that protective quality. And so this nature of metta, just to highlight, is this genuine acceptance, is an unconditional. So a sense of care that is not based on being perfect, being good, not making mistakes. It's not based on the other person being perfect, being as we want them to be. It's a sense of allowing this whole being to be as they are and to be loving towards that, all of the difficulties, all of the quirks, the inconsistencies. This is the nature of the self. So it's a boundless quality of love. And it can be a love that opens us to freedom. Again, to seeing, oh wow, that's just how that person is. and caring. This is just how I am right now. And sometimes that's hard. Then metta arises. So it can be this antidote to ill will, to hostility, and allow us to be with what disturbs us, what irritates us, what makes us feel that we're separate from, that another is so different from, or shouldn't be as they are. And when we cultivate this, there's a response in the body. Maybe you felt that, maybe not, and that's okay. But when we deeply practice metta, often there's a softening, a little bit more space to breathe, the bracing and the contraction of holding ourselves into this narrow, tight space of that we should be different than we are can start to soften. And we can allow for the catastrophe of being to be. And within metta, this is something that I didn't know when I first started practicing. I didn't know that sometimes we also need boundary. And so sometimes I had a situation in an airport one time when someone was quite threatening towards me. And I tried to offer him metta. And after the event, I was really shaken up and I tried to offer metta, and I couldn't sleep. And it was like I was just fighting with this. I should allow this person, let them go, offer the metta. What I didn't know is I actually needed more protection in that moment. I needed a sense that I was safe from that sense of threat. And so sometimes the ill will is actually the need for more safety, the need for more of a boundary. And when that's there, then the metta can be there. So if we have a person that's just constantly overriding our boundaries, when we set that boundary, then often we can care for them more deeply. And then we can be ourselves and we have this exchange. And I feel like that boundary is also part of equanimity. The sense of having a sense of stability within all that is changing, all that is moving around us. So I love this quote by Prentice Hemphill, who is just an incredible somatic therapist and social activist and teacher of our time. And they write, or they say, boundaries give us the space to do the work of loving ourselves. Boundaries give us the space to do the work of loving ourselves. They might be actually the first and fundamental expression of self-love. They also give us the space to love and witness others as they are, even those who have hurt us. And so the sense that it's okay to have a boundary. We don't have to let everyone in. We don't have to let everything in. We might take some time to sense into, this is my space, this is my body, this is who I am in a healthy sense, and this is who they are. This is mine and this is yours. This is not mine and this is yours, or whatever the case may be there. And again, I feel like that's part of the equanimity. So the word in Pali is upekkha. Upekkha, means to, has a sense of looking over, to be able to see the bigger picture. And eka or ikka is to see. So Joseph Goldstein describes it as an unshakable balance of mind, rooted in insight and metta. So thus equanimity is not dispassionate. It is not cold and removed. It is rooted in metta, rooted in deeply caring, but also rooted in wisdom, rooted in this understanding of the karmic unfolding as we chant it. So we are heirs to our actions. All beings are heir to their actions. May they act upon intention. So this sense that we can see what's arising in the relational field is not just ours and is not just that of another. It's arising due to conditions, to causes and conditions. And that can really open up a space. Sometimes the self-blame can be so strong, or the blame of another. How could they do that? How could they be this way? We see, oh, there's a lifetime of experience that has contributed to what's arising. And we also see that whatever's unfolding for someone is due to partially to their own actions. So we might have a sense of trying to control someone and realize, oh, we actually can't really do that. Equanimity is often described as actually the fruit of all of the Brahma Viharas and is often taught last. It's like a deep insight or awakening that arises as the heart meets our experience, as we allow the heart to resonate with difficulty, with pain, that's compassion. As we uplift the heart, which also balances the nervous system with mudita, with joy, then often there's much more stability, there's much more equanimity that is a natural arising. But I also sometimes like to start with equanimity. Equanimity is sometimes described as being on a mountain, or actually being a mountain. And allowing for the weather patterns. If you've ever spent time on top of a mountain, the weather can be turbulent, strong. Allowing those weather patterns to come and go, but the mountain is not disturbed. The mountain is not disturbed. But the mountain is deeply connected. It's not just a cold, separate entity. It's a home to all of the beings affected by the weather. So this deep knowing of the laws of existence, a panoramic view, a sense of being tenderly with what is here, with insight, without contending, letting down, releasing the battle, the ways that we get into being at war with our experience. Ruth King describes Upekkha as a deep understanding that there are two kinds of suffering. Number one, the suffering that leads to more suffering. And number two, the suffering that leads to liberation and the end of suffering. It allows us to touch into, to be with, to allow, to accept, without adding, without proliferating, without agitating. And this deep understanding that we are interconnected, that we are part of the cellular matrix, and that no matter if we try to step out, our heart knows that we belong. So as we cultivate the heart qualities, often that knowing, that insight into interdependence dawns on its own, becomes embodied, becomes the reality that we walk with. So I want to close with a poem that I've long loved by the Spanish poet Antonio Machado. It's titled, "Last Night I Had a Dream." And this is a translation by Alan Trueblood. But in one section, I'll add also a little translation by Robert Bly, because both, I think, add a lot, can make us understand the Spanish in a way. Last night I had a dream. A blessed illusion it was. I dreamt of a fountain flowing deep down in my heart. Water, by what hidden channels have you come? Tell me to me. Welling up with new life I never tasted before. Last night I had a dream, a blessed illusion it was. I dreamt of a hive, at work deep in my heart. Within were the golden bees, straining out the bitter past, to make sweet tasting honey and white honeycomb from my old failures. Last night I had a dream, a blessed illusion it was. I dreamt of a hot sun shining deep in my heart. The heat was in the scorching as from a fiery hearth. The sun in the light it shed and the tears it brought to my eyes. Last night I had a dream, a blessed illusion it was. I dreamt it was God I'd found deep down in my heart. So we'll close with a few lines from the chant we did earlier, the reflections on universal well-being. May everyone abide in well-being, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may they maintain well-being in themselves. May all beings be released from all suffering. May they not be parted from the good fortune they have attained. Thank you so much, everyone. And in a moment, we'll go into a discussion period if you wish to stay. If you don't wish to stay, of course, that's fine. But I want to offer you the prompt for the discussion in case you want to practice on your own today. Just curious what it was like to recall that memory of metta and to notice how it might have brought more equanimity Or maybe you had a different experience. So sometimes when we practice the Brahma Viharas, we get the opposite. And that's part of the purification.